Today I wanted to make a quick tutorial to show you how you can repurpose some of your old VEX Cortex electronics to make a generic strip of RGB lights, fully programmable and working with a VEX V5 brain. Things that you're going to need a mat to work on that you're not afraid to solder and hot glue things on. You're going to need a generic strip of RGB lights, like this. They can be old or broken or whatever, it doesn't really matter, because we're going to be cutting them up anyways. You're going to need a brain, of course. You're going to need 3 MC29s. These are the old motor controllers for the 393 motors. You're going to need some electrical tape. You might want some Scotch tape. You're going to need some wire cutters and also scissors. These also act as scissors. You're going to need some solder. You're going to need a soldering iron. And also, you're probably going to want a hot glue gun and some hot glue. That's just to insulate the connections that you make with the solder. Okay, let's get started. The first thing that you're going to want to do is disconnect your light strip from any connectors or anything it has, so it's just the lights, okay? What you're going to do first is identify where these little bronze or copper, I'm not sure what they are, those little electrical contacts are. Find a point where those are, and just cut this off, like that. Just like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to peel up, if your lights have these, here, you're just going to peel up the little rubber thing. Like that. Okay. And then from here, you can just cut off the rubber. It's not needed. Good, like that. Like that. And then here you can see we have a green, blue, red, and plus. So basically, there's red lights, green lights, blue lights. They're separate LEDs in here. But if they shine at different intensities, it can be any color you want. So if you have a connector on the ground and red, it's going to be red. If you have a connector on ground and blue, it's going to be blue. Ground and green, it's going to be green. If you have something on ground, red, and blue, it's going to be purple, and so on. Yeah, so what we're going to be doing is connecting these MC29s here. These are the motor controllers that can take the outputs from the brain of power and signal and convert them into just varying degrees of power here. And we're going to be soldering these onto these pads right here. And that's going to let us control with the brain how much power is going to each color on the lights. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to tape down this. If you have a real soldering thing with a magnifying glass and everything, that would probably work better. But I don't, so I'm just going to tape down my lights on my map there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our motor controllers. We are going to chop off the 2-wire end here. So we're just going to take this, and we're going to chop it off. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to peel these wires apart. Okay. Then we're going to take our wire strippers. Oh no, I'm going to focus that up here a little bit. Yeah, we're going to take our wire strippers, and we're going to strip off the very ends of these wires. You don't need very much, just enough to be able to solder it on there correctly. Yeah, just take off those, just take off the ends of those. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tape these down on here. The black end goes where it says plus, red goes on the color channel. Plus is on the right side, so we're gonna do the pluses at the end. So let's take this down just on this end here. Good. Okay. And we're going to do the same for the other ones as well. You can put that on the second color. Put it on the third color. Okay. And we're going to deal about the ground channel later. Okay. Now what we can do, get our soldering iron turned on, and we'll get ready to start soldering. Now that our soldering iron has heated up, now it's time to get started soldering. Regular old solder and a soldering iron. Make sure to be very careful when doing this, because first of all, hot soldering iron, and of course, you need to make sure you're doing it right on here so that these contacts are correct. Okay, now that we're done with the first three, we're going to take our long end one here and the ground ends of all the other ones, and we're going to just spin those around on there. We're just going to twist those on. Same with this one, like that. And then from here we can just solder those on. Just like that. Just get those together. Okay. That's going to make it a bit easier. So now we just have to connect the one end to the pad and not both. Okay, let's just tape that down, then get ready to solder it on. Now that we have this end taped down, we can just solder it onto our lights. All of those appear to be on there good and separate. Okay. Now that those are on there, we're going to get our hot glue gun and coat over the solder. Now that our hot glue gun has heated up, we can just coat over the solder that we put on there. This should give it a layer of insulation, and also should hold the wires in place to prevent the contacts from touching each other. And then take off the tape that we put down. Okay. Now what you can do is take some tape like this. It's just normal electrical tape, and we can wrap around over this. And we also wrap around over the wires here. That should be good. Let's get the scissors, and we can cut that. Yeah, good. Now we have our three controllers connected to our strip of lights, and now it's time to get these connected to our brain. Here is the code that makes this work. Up here we are simply defining each channel of our lights as a motor controller 29. This is because we're using the motor controller 29s to power the lights. Here we are defining a task that runs asynchronously, and it just cycles through a rainbow of colors. So it's just a bunch of for loops that add and subtract power from each channel, which makes a cool rainbow effect. And then here in our main function, we define our controller, and then we start our lights function. And then in our while loop, we say, if the X button is pressed, stop this function and make the lights red. If the A button is pressed, stop the function, make the lights green. If the B button is pressed, stop the function and make the lights blue. And if no buttons are being pressed, make sure the function keeps going. So this is the code that we're going to be downloading to the brain, and this is what makes the lights work. Now that we have our program downloaded, we can get the lights plugged into the brain. Yep, right there. So here we can see this will just cycle through a rainbow of colors. Yellow, now it's green. now it's blue. The colors don't really work that great through the camera, but it is definitely cycling through a rainbow properly. And I'm going to go grab a controller and show you the individual color channels working with the controller. We're going to plug this right into our brain here. Turn this on. And we can see if we hit the X button, our lights go red. If we let go, they go back to the rainbow. If we hit the A button, they'll go green. That's green, if anybody can see it. It's green. And then if we hit the B button, they'll go blue. Red, green, blue. Red, green, blue. And then once we let go, they go back to the rainbow. So we can see that the color of the lights is definitely being controlled by our brain here. And then, just to make it look nicer, what I do on my robots is I take more electrical tape and I just wrap it around these, and I put these into like one block here. And then so I wrap the wires up pretty much all the way to the brain, and it just looks nice. And you have a colored light strip that you can control the color of from the brain, and it is good for underglow on a chassis, or pretty much anywhere where you'd want to be able to control colors like this. This is just a simple way that you can create a colored light strip which can be controlled by your brain with some old VEX parts that you probably have lying around anyways. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments or on the VEX forum thread that I'm posting with this. And I hope to post some more videos soon.